We need to call the meeting to order, so if everyone please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please silence your cell phones. Ms. Suttles, would you have a roll call?
Mayor Plummer,
Here.
Commissioner Brooks,
Here.
Commissioner Fields,
Here.
Commissioner Gray,
Here.
Commissioner Galbraith.
Here.
We have a quorum and ready for the transaction of business.
Thanks. Ms. Suttles, Mr. Belcher, you ready?
Yes, sir, Mayor. How are you doing? Welcome, everyone. Hope everyone had a wonderful sort of extended July 4th break. So we'll go ahead and get started. Got a lengthy agenda, so hopefully we'll get everyone moved through and on a better day. So item 4A on the agenda, approval of regular minutes for the regular meeting of June 23rd, 2026. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes?
Make the motion.
Seeing none, got a motion by the mayor to approve. Second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Fields. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Got a couple of three special presentations. Out of 5A, we have Mr. Tim Loper here with us from our auditing firm. Tim, if you want to step on up, we have Brad also on speakerphone. So Tim, welcome. If you want to take right off, and I know Brad talked a little bit about this last month when the audit was finalized, but if you want to talk a little bit about this year's audit.
Sure, will do. Thank you. My apologies for not making the last meeting. We was all scheduled to be here, and I drive a 2019 Toyota Camry. I've never had an issue with it. I sent my son on an errand and broke down on the side of the highway, so it was having to get fixed, and that's why I was.
I know the first time you came, you got a speeding ticket.
I did get a speeding ticket. Yeah.
I didn't want to, I was hoping that wasn't what kept you away.
And as I was coming in, I thought I was getting another one. So apparently I didn't learn my lesson, but I was not. He was going after somebody else. You have that moment where you think, man, I should have learned my lesson, and I applied the brakes for sure. So, so my apologies on not being here at the last meeting. I'll try to get through this as quickly as we can as I see the agenda that you all have. This is the audit report for June 30th, 2025. For the June 30th, 2025 audit period, the City of Paris was a single audit. A single audit is any entity that has expended more than $750,000 in federal funds are required to have their Type A programs tested to ensure that they're following the guidelines set forth by the federal government for that particular program. There was one program that was a Type A program that was required to be tested. It was the state highway program. We did test that program with the requirements set forth by the federal government, and we found no issues with the internal controls or compliance over that program. We thought the fund was being handled and administered properly in accordance to the grant agreement. In addition to the single audit and testing that federal program, there is an additional piece which is called the data collection form. The Federal Audit Clearinghouse requires that your report package gets uploaded to their website. You have to fill out some detailed information about the process of the audit, what kind of opinion that you give over the schedule of federal awards, which was an unmodified opinion. We got that uploaded to the Federal Audit Clearinghouse. Brad had to go in and certify it on the city's behalf. We certified it on the auditor's behalf. It was submitted and approved by the Federal Audit Clearinghouse. So from a federal standpoint, everything checked out from that standpoint. I want to jump to the very back of the report first, since I already brought up the single audit aspect. The very last page, this is a required summary schedule that the federal government requires whenever an entity is a single audit. What I'd like to point out on the very last line, it says low risk auditee, whether the city, qualifies to be a low risk auditee and what it means to be a low risk auditee. You'll notice that it says no, that the city is not a low risk auditee. And the reason why is one of the requirements to be considered a low risk auditee, you have to have a single audit in each of the previous last two audit periods. So in 2024, the city wasn't a single audit. 2025 you were, so automatically you're not a low-risk optee just because you didn't have an audit in the previous. There was no negative information that came about it. There was nothing that led to it other than the fact you just didn't spend over $750,000 in the prior year. The difference between low risk, high risk is the number of programs that have to be tested. If you're a high risk, you got to get 40% coverage over the federal schedule. Low risk, it's 20%. In your scenario, you only have one major program that covered more than 40%. So it doesn't increase the number of programs for your particular city. Some places you get into, they have several programs and it could lead to multiple programs having to be tested, which then leads to greater cost. But that was not something that was affected. The opinion that we gave over the financial statements, if we flip back to page number 1, this is the independent auditor's report. This is where we give our opinion over the financial statements. The opinion that we have given this year is an unmodified opinion, which is the cleanest opinion that we can give as independent auditors. It goes through the responsibilities. The city is responsible for the financial statement and the presentation thereof. We are responsible for the opinion that we give over the financial statements themselves. So working with Brad, getting some of the information the city produces to get it into the final format that we have. It is the city's responsibility to make sure that their books are in order whenever they hand that information to us so that we can put it in the proper format. And then we are responsible for the information. We are making sure the financial statements are materially misstated, so we don't test anything 100%. We do stop and go testing where we'll pull an initial sample, controls are in place, the balances are properly recorded, we conclude that that balance is correct. If we find out that there's an issue and we have to pull a secondary sample, then we pull a secondary sample to see if the city has an issue of internal controls, and if so, then we would address it at that point. I'm pleased to let you all know we did not have to pull any secondary samples. All the samples that we pulled, the controls were in place, the amounts that were recorded in the correct line item. We did have to assist the city in one set of journal entries, and that is related to GASB 68 and GASB 75. That is the net pension liability and the net OPEB liability. And most of that information comes from the state actuarial reports that are issued. So the state goes through and they calculate what their overfunded or underfunded pieces are at the state level. They assign a percentage that goes to each entity that participates in those programs, and then you're required to put that on your financial statements. So we go in and come up with that calculation, and then Brad adds it to the financial statements and runs it through the books on your side of things. It's a government auditing standard requirement. It doesn't mean that you've done anything wrong when you see that liability. It's just at the state level, they're saying, hey, we're overfunded or underfunded, and this is the percentage that applies to your particular city.
May I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
Is there anything or any department that we need to stay on top of or keep an eye on at this point?
I didn't see anything that jumped out at us during the course of it. The flow of information, I think that you had a little bit of turnover in the finance department, so the flow of information was a little slow, but once we got the information was well organized and put together for us. And we didn't see any other departments that we felt like there was a lacking of controls from a financial statement standpoint. And that is what we were looking at, is to make sure that the financial aspect and the compliance related to the financial aspects were in sound order. We did note that there was one new major debt that the city had taken out, and it looked like that was for $1.2 million. And then you had some projects that were going on. So those projects that are in process but not completed yet show up in the footnotes as construction in progress. As you finalize those projects, then they'll come down to the proper asset class and start being depreciated at that point in time. If we did have any findings that were required, again, going back to that last page, they would be listed right here, and they would have identified any material non-compliance. The one non-compliance issue that did come up, in our opinion, it's not a material item. The report is technically supposed to be issued and filed with the federal government 9 months after year end. And our report was completed and filed after that deadline. And so, again, that's one of those items that can cause you to be a high risk in future audits, but you're already a high risk entity because you don't have a single audit every year. It would be strongly, recommended that we can work together to make sure that we hit that 9 month after year end, getting that information submitted to the Federal Audit Clearing Council. As far as us as an independent auditing firm, there are some required communications that I must go over with you all today. Our firm is independent of the city of Paris. We have no one sitting on the board. We have no outside influence on any of the decision makers that go on inside. The only journal entries that we assisted the city with was the GASB 68 and 75. There were no unusual disclosures that were required, no significant difficulties encountered performing the audit, no disagreements with management that I'm aware of, and we did not consult with any other accountants outside of our firm. Our firm has 9 offices across 5 different states. So, if we have an issue that comes up, we typically bounce it off one of the partners in a different region, get their opinion instead of going outside for additional counsel if it comes up. So, that is the highlight of the audit report. Be more than happy to answer any additional questions that anyone may have.
Yeah, did our unfunded liability, it went up this fiscal year versus the year before that, correct?
So yes and no. So the net pension liability, it went up. The net OPEB liability actually went down.
Okay, if you take both of those and add them together.
So the total net effect,
up or down.
I don't know that I looked at that, but let me take a quick look and I can tell you
It
that.
seems like, I'm gonna say, when we first started having to carry that unfunded liability on our liability or on our balance sheet, it seemed like years ago, it was like 13 million. That was our first number. And it just seems to, no matter what's going on, I don't say in Frankfurt, or that 13 now goes to 17, 18.
So it looks like it actually decreased a little bit from 24 to 25.
Yeah.
So the total is sitting right around $11 million between the two. In 2024, it would have been right around 12. Well, yeah, close to $13 million. The biggest decrease was the net OPEB. You're almost breaking even on the OPEB, the other post-employment benefit aspect. It's the pension piece of it that is the largest aspect of that unfunded liability.
Yeah, there were about, it looks like there's about 3 pages or 4 pages in there that talks nothing but about changes of assumptions on the pension and OPEB.
Yeah, that is correct. Yeah, and that's how that number begins to change significantly. If you look at the OPEB piece of it, it had a $2.9 million reduction this year. And a lot of that calculation by the actuarial is the assumptions that they're putting into their model whenever they spit out what their final numbers are. And so then they're required by GASB to have that additional disclosure stating how they come up with the assumptions that go into the calculation.
Any other questions for Tim?
Every time,
This
at
Tim.
the end of the audit, Stan always wants a letter grade, A or B.
Oh, letter grade. Okay.
I remember this question.
You don't do it today for some reason, so he has to do it.
I'm usually the 10. I was hung up on this.
What grade would you give us on the scale of
Of 8 to what?
failure?
8 to failure. I give it an 8. Yeah, it was a pretty good. Maybe an A- because of timing, but overall the financial aspect of it, once we got the information, was in good shape. Just need to speed the process up a little bit on some of the items that were hanging out there in order to conclude, in order for us to deliver the opinion.
Brad and I talked about that. Brad, do you have anything that you want to?
No, I don't. I just, Tim, thanks for all your guys' help and the team. Really appreciate everything you guys have done for the city.
You're very welcome. Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to work with you all again. And an opportunity to present before you all. Don't get this chance very often for some reason.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Just slow down on the way out.
Take your time.
Yeah.
Going home.
Oh, yeah, we definitely follow the speed limit. Where's the chief?
Chief's right back there. Madam Clerk, do we need an order to, or a motion to approve? We already approved. Okay. All right. Okay, thank you all. Item 5B on your agenda. I think I saw David Brown somewhere. Hey, David, you want to step on up? We've got, and Chad. Thank you, Chad. Our water plant improvement project update. And I think this is welcome, I think, to most of us,
Just
all
some
of us,
pictures here for
that
you.
we are
That's it. Oh, that's it.
wrapping that up and have reached substantial completion on the project. So I asked David to kind of come and talk a little bit about the project and where we stand and some of the details and some of the benefits that this project has brought us. So welcome, David.
Thanks for having me. Good morning. So I'm happy to report the plant improvements project is substantially complete. It's been a long time coming. I'll acknowledge that. It was a bit of a piecemeal approach in the end. Sometimes these rehabilitation is a major rehabilitation, really, or at least a rehab of major components, which is one of the reasons for the lengthy process, is the lead times involved with the equipment. You can see some pretty major equipment there. We tried to simplify this as much as we could and keep the words few and the pictures many. So the electrical service on that first page, obviously drastically improved, and also just the housing of the electrical equipment. You can see the cabinets in that before picture versus now in the building. And I'll let Chad, you step in whenever you'd like to talk about the benefits. I think this next one probably you'd want to talk about the most, but.
So we'll start with this first picture on the left is that the electrical, those transformers that were on the pole and those Sparky and I spoke numerous times over the years. And I told him last week, he said he expected that phone call and for those to be either laying on the building or down in the creek. So after we had some they survived some pretty good windstorms. So of course, one of the major things was the hypo changeover from chlorine gas. Got rid of that.
I'll jump in. It says sodium hypo room before, it's the chlorine room. So those are ton cylinders of chlorine.
You'll see that lower left picture is the ton cylinders. So we did do away with those. And in the process, myself, a couple guys in the plant took on another project, and that was to get rid of the anhydrous sodium at the same time. So we got rid of all the gaseous chemicals on the plant. So,
if you flip the page, the raw water check valve, that's a significant valve there. I'm going to say 20 inch.
19 or 20 inch valve.
Okay.
It was the raw water valve that come in. It was the main artery from Stoner Creek into the plant.
And just to note, the fact that I can't remember off the top of my head the size speaks a little bit to when that happened in the process. Again, this being a project that did happen kind of piecemeal over many years here. That was replaced early on.
March or April, April or May of 25.
Yeah, I do believe.
Yeah, that was one of those that
Like
kept the
project.
former administration up for a couple of nights.
Mhm.
Anyway, it went off basically without a hitch. I think we allocated 12 hours, they did it at 6.
So just for a matter of logistics here, this is a raw water intake valve. This is coming right out of the creek. So this is where it enters the plant.
It was original to the plant, I think, to the current plant. It was 1960s. We felt like it was probably a good thing to go ahead and replace that.
I'll keep going through the photos and then open it up for questions. High service pumps, both of those have been needing more and more regular maintenance to the point where they were basically at the end of their service life, and now they are VFDs.
So they are VFD pumps, so they're saving us a considerable amount of energy.
So they can ramp up and ramp down based on the demand. The backwash pump, Dustin, our construction manager, really liked the photo on the top left with all the corrosion that shows on that pump from before. Of course, the housing's taken off at that juncture, but then that was replaced. That was one of the last things to be replaced.
We held off on replacing that until we got a little bit of experience with the other pumps, because that backwash pump we have on that one, it is the lifeblood of the plant. So if we can't backwash filters, we can't treat water. So we wanted to make sure that we did it last after we kind of ironed out the issues with the replacement of other pumps in the process. So get a little experience in there, and we definitely didn't want that to be down any longer. We had to have it down.
The raw water pumps previously, and Chad will talk to this, when Stoner Creek would rise, those pumps had to be pulled, manually removed. I call them the chest pieces now. On the right-hand side, you can see they've been raised to an elevation where they will not need to be removed. That is above the, the 97, flood record.
I think it exceeds the 100 years.
It does, yeah. And again, all these, if you'd like to drive down there, they're very visible. The one thing we don't show on here is the transformer that has been elevated there. That's probably one of the first things you see when you pull down the drive into the plant, is that transformer is really up there. So it unfortunately also gives you an idea of where the plant elevation is in terms of the flood level, which is kind of unsettling, but these components have all been removed from the floodplain. And then the last one gets a big photo there. I think Chad's pretty proud of the fact that the water heater's above the flood. But
The water heater is, was on kind of a stick right there for a little bit. We went back and forth on a couple options of water heaters, and they placed the water heater in, and I thought, I still don't think that's out of floodplain, so we wound up having to come back to replace that.
So I know, was the telemetry part of this overall? I know I spent a lot of time, was that a side project or was this part of this as well? So talk a little bit about that.
So it's one of the holdups we're still kind of working through, wrapping up. That part of it is with Citgo, and that's getting the telemetry finalized. The telemetry is all right. It's upgrading what we already had. We made some improvements. It gives us monitoring of all our chemical pumps. It gives us monitoring of our tanks. It gives us monitoring of our flow rates and so forth. So all of those things we still have the monitoring of our tanks, and we've had in the past, we've added some things, so we're really keeping an eye on our different feed pumps, and that's what they're tying in now. So, gives us tank levels, chemical tank levels, feed pump flow rates, feed pumps, make sure that they're working, alarms if they fail. Those kinds of things are being tied in now. That's still kind of a hold up with Citgo getting them in there to wrap that part up.
So that and just clean up, David, is
General
that
cleanup,
what we're looking at? So,
substantial completion is installation of all major components. Like Chad said, there is still training that is outstanding. And of course, dare I say, troubleshooting kind of within the first 4 to 6 months as issues arise. The contractor obviously will be on the hook for the 1 year construction warranty. But I'll turn it over to questions now.
Do you all have a maintenance schedule that you could recommend to us, so that on a couple of these pictures, it looks like we were living on borrowed time? Really?
Right, so maintenance and definitely replacement. I mean, some of these, like Chad had mentioned, were original components and simply weren't really designed to be installed for quite as long as they were, I think. The maintenance schedule.
And like an annual maintenance. And
Yes.
This, we're gonna have to spend some dollars to
Absolutely,
avoid.
sure.
We have an annual maintenance program on our pumps, and that covers all every pump that we have.
But I'm thinking, Chad, particularly with all this new equipment things, is there recommendations from the manufacturer or from the engineering firm or something of that nature that would?
That's a good point, Stan. I think that there definitely are recommendations. It's a matter of pulling them out of however thick the manual is. And so I think one thing we should do is ask those manufacturers for those outright, as opposed to having to wade through. So that's a good point. Let's send that to our.
We spend $1, but then it's gonna cost us $100.
Sure.
Somebody in the future.
maintenance vendor on the pumps. And they were also the maintenance crew on pumps all the way back to Kevin's superintendent. They've done all our maintenance every year, and they give us a breakdown, vibration testing, oil, so on and so forth. We have that done usually around every November. So
I was just thinking that
preventative maintenance time.
I could see that you would have, let's say, another line item in your budget that would be a little greater this next year or this coming year versus this last year with all this new equipment. That's all, I guess that's where I'm trying to get to is,
I think that
Do we have enough
a little
money?
bit in there this year, maybe not per se.
I would
Yes, into the equipment maintenance.
we talk about that equipment maintenance, and that's, as far as I'm,
Just
you know,
plant
was thinking this might be part of your training regimen as you have staff.
but I realize some can be under a warranty, but
Yes. Yeah, 1 year, 3 year,
If they're
whatever
running,
manufacturer.
some of this stuff's running 365, 24, 365,
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, absolutely. Make sure it's maintained.
and they don't make them like they used to.
That's right.
How old is our plant?
1960,
1950s?
60s.
Okay.
60.
With all of the expansion of subdivisions and additional apartments and things coming in, do we need to consider for the future the possibility of expanding or building a new plant, or should that be taken into consideration soon?
Well, we actually took that into consideration about 6 years ago, and the Division of Water said that they did not feel comfortable giving us the additional withdrawal. So our goal going into this project was to go from 3 million gallons a day to the capability of 6 million gallons a day, which would be just expanding out the footprint of the building a little bit, adding more filters and upgrading some plumbing. But the Division of Water said they did not feel comfortable that Stone Creek was adequate enough to allow us to do 6 MGD. We're about, I mean, we're at 3 MGD now and probably 70%.
So does that mean that we need to
Correct.
curtail further growth
Well,
or what?
I don't mean to interrupt, but again, all more reason for backup redundancy and other, additional sources for a water supply.
Correct.
Because until the Division of Water, gives us some, leeway on.
The Division of Water, basically, what they echoed was, you can take 6 million gallons a day out of here any given day. But once you get into a 30+ day drought period, then that's where they're concerned. They don't,
They've happened before, and they're happening again.
many years ago.
Yeah, right. Now, we picked up 200,000 though from Millersburg when
Well, we're still working on that. We're still working through that.
are we still,
Yeah,
we
still working
haven't,
through
we
that.
haven't flipped the
I
switch
think
on
there's some
that?
issues with pressure that we're trying to isolate and see if that's going to be sufficient for them.
We're pumping right at about 66% of our capacity, or 2 million gallons a day, give or take.
Let me clarify. Yes, correct, Commissioner. As far as Kentucky American and off of for the Millersburg
Yes.
service, yes, that was
Ultimately, the
back
idea-
in March.
We've been doing 200,000
I
since
apologize.
2016. I
That's
think it
correct.
is. And then we, at some magic day, we were gonna take this switch and we're gonna turn it off and Kentucky American was gonna take over.
Right. That was back in March.
Yes.
That was
Okay.
correct. We were looking at
Okay.
additional wholesale, and that we're still working on that.
I think we had talked at one time about Stoner Creek. And someone mentioned that there was a reservoir here somewhere that had not ever been used. Is that true?
That would be the most, as far as the water source, there was the old rock quarry, which I think Kevin done many years ago.
Pull it up, Chad.
Many years ago, when Kevin and Billy Biddle were superintendent and chief operator, they went out and they did some surveying of the old rock quarry, and they said that was not going to be an adequate source.
But is it a source that we could possibly tap into in case of an emergency?
It would probably last about 3 days.
Okay.
So that's what that that's the determination that Kevin came to me many years ago, that when they didn't take them very long to calm it down. The other option, I think, is the current Rockport. I think that was discussed. I think Mr. Withrow might even discuss that at some point.
I think there was some alkaline issue, or was it the other pH?
Front for you up there now, they mine underground, and they're continuously pumping water out to, allow them to mine, just to look at that water.
So, yeah, again, we talked about it during the workshop, as far as backup, redundancy, emergency supply, emergency connections, that's a discussion we need to continue to have.
Water's king now, and it'll be king for a long, long time.
Absolutely.
So,
Just in closing, I do want to just say, Chad and Matt have been great to work with. Unfortunately, this project has spanned a couple administrations here, but the city's been great to work with, an understanding of the process. And it's taken longer because we did choose early on to begin the project as opposed to waiting for items with long lead times to actually arrive. So thank you for your patience.
Thank you, David. Appreciate all of your work and continued work as we move forward on our water needs in Paris. So
we'll be back.
thank you. Yeah, we'll be back.
Thanks, Chad. Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Chad. David. Okay, item 5C on your agenda, Cedar Heights Cemetery. I think Rita here?
She is not.
She is not.
I'm here in her stead.
Oh, okay. Welcome.
Thank
And your name?
Yeah.
Sorry, I
No,
know we
that's all right.
met. I forgot.
No worries. My name's Namali
Hi,
Garam.
Yeah.
Good to see you all. And I have spoken to the commission in the past on behalf of the historic Paris-Bergen County Hopewell Museum as a board member there. I'm also a board member of the Cedar Heights Cemetery, and I'm here representing on behalf of Ms. Allen and the board because Ms. Allen has been hospitalized for health concern. And so, but I know she and all of us would rather she were here and not me in giving you this update.
Wish her well.
Absolutely will. Thank you. So the board is requesting of the city of Paris that there is strong consideration to installing a guardrail or some protective barrier along the property of the cemetery on Cypress Street. It could have reflectors and other safeguards, but as a additional protection, there is already a fence, but you'll understand why we're making this request in a moment. Since November of last year, there have been 2 single vehicle accidents in which damage was done to the cemetery property. Thankfully, no injuries were incurred. However, most recent accident, which was just in late June, not even a month yet, I don't think, was damaged the fence that had just been fully repaired from the first accident. And unfortunately, the second accident didn't just damage the new fence, but it also caused more than damage to more than 10 headstones in the cemetery property itself. So there are several reasons why we believe this request is critical for implementation. For one, Cedar Heights Cemetery is a beautiful historic property where a lot of work has been underway in the last year to really honor the generations of Paris-Bergen County families and individuals who have served this community for decades and hundreds of years, really. There's hundreds of year cemetery stones there. Second, unfortunately, in the current situation we're in the midst of with the second incident, we have no confidence that the insurance companies of the owners of vehicles understand or respect the extent of the physical damage that has been done, nor have they taken into account the impact on these families whose loved ones have had their burial site significantly disrupted. And that's not even thinking about the cost of trying to replace and repair those headstones. And third, and most important, the frequency of accidents that are occurring along this stretch of Cypress make us very concerned for the safety of our community members on this stretch of road. And we feel like something needs to be done to further reduce accidents and harms like this in the future. So I'll pause there and see if there are some questions.
So an insurance claim has been filed?
Yes, sir.
With the, I know there were several, for those who've been down through there, several headstones that were destroyed.
Yeah, over, I think between 8 to 10.
And you haven't heard back from the insurance?
No, sir. We got an initial offer that was grossly undervalued and only seemed to account for the fence, not even the full extent of the fence, and did not even provide any written estimate of how they got to that number or what was taken into consideration when it was set.
Gotcha. We've talked a little bit about this in staff meeting with public work staff, but if there's any questions or comments prior, I'm going to kind of share with you what Mike and I have talked about.
Okay,
But
yeah,
go
go ahead,
Well,
because I was just thinking, I was thinking of water lines on this side.
It is, we got a 6 or 10 inch going
And
down
there's a
through
fire
there.
hydrant.
6 inches. And we talked a little bit about this, in terms of a guardrail might be problematic, but, we had discussed the concrete, the heavy median barriers, the concrete barriers that can be lifted on and off, you know, if necessary. If there was an issue with the water line, that could be, you know, what I'm talking about is those concrete barriers
Yeah.
that you've seen along highways. And those can be purchased and can be placed there between the fence and the road. So we talked about that. The question of the aesthetics came up, you know, what that would look like. In my mind, it could either be painted or do the decorative stone to make it more aesthetically pleasing
Sure.
as you go down through there. So that's one idea. The other idea is also, Mike is in process, he's out this week, but he's in process of working with the University of Kentucky as far as getting ideas for traffic. It's a University of Kentucky works with us on, you know, issues of traffic or any type of projects that we might want to implement. And they have a whole division where they come in and do traffic counts. You know, they look at line of sight issues and, you know, why people are kind of veering off in that straight stretch as you go down through there. So we wanted to get some feedback from the University of Kentucky about possible ideas that they may want to see, you know, or suggestions that we could implement that, you know, that's cost effective for both the taxpayers and the
Is there a
city.
timeline of when they're gonna get started or?
You know, again, Mike's out this week. He was calling them and, yeah, I'm sure it'd be a couple of weeks. He could get that scheduled and, you know.
It's a tough area because
It
you have to
is.
work for pedestrians, no sidewalks.
And it's just so close between the edge of the road
Yes, it
and where the
is.
fence
It's
is.
very
going down
tight.
through
That's
there.
true. What is Mike's last name? I'm sorry.
Mike Smith, sorry, our public works superintendent. So we talked a little bit about it just, again, in staff meetings and some of the ideas, and we want to get UK to kind of give us some ideas as well about, and the chief as well, and, you know, been looking at, you know, traffic control measures and speeding and down through there. So it's you know, right there before you get to the stop sign, and then folks taking, you know, and going back toward town, you know, they pick up speed. So it's just it's a straight stretch, and it's kind of an opportunity for people to, I think, Chief, would you agree, kind of pick up speed? Yeah.
And what we've done is extra patrol, and you may see cruisers going in that area more.
The only thing that I would add is that both of the accidents were not because of speeding. They were because of medical emergencies, right? Which,
I would agree with her.
so not that that shouldn't be done.
Sure,
I think
yeah.
that the UK looking into it is a great long-term or even medium to long-term plan. but there probably should be some
Something done
consideration,
in between.
more
to
immediately,
temporize this.
to put a barrier there, because even the medical emergency piece especially, I mean, if they're hitting the fence and then hitting the stones, I wouldn't want someone again to do that.
Or seriously hurt
You agree
themselves.
or
I mean, this would
possibly
be, there's a lot of old trees. I mean, you know, this is,
And that's what we just talked about, the barriers, because it's kind of an immediate, something that
Yeah.
we could, you know,
Makes sense.
they sell those and surplus those, you know, state highway and surplus property. So it's something that we could be done more, quickly.
yeah.
And then we could.
And then you
evaluate
could do
further.
that longer term assessment and maybe deal with the aesthetics of it. But to do something to protect people and property as urgently as possible seems very reasonable, and we appreciate that.
In our mind, it wouldn't have to be a continuous wall down through there. It's just sort of kind of, you know, broken
No,
up to where
I mean-
it's spaced out to
Enough
where,
to
right, deflect
deflect,
the vehicle.
right,
Possibly. So,
hopefully.
yeah. Is that something that the commission would
Sure.
be okay with us moving forward? And when Mike gets back, we look at doing that.
Set those concrete barriers in there.
And we can work with the cemetery as far as aesthetics, you know, what it would look like. I know you have the fence down through, do you plan on replacing
Of
the
course,
fence?
Again,
Again, yeah, this is
So
the,
this will be in
Second
behind the,
this is the second
Barrier.
time.
absolutely. Second time, it was, the fence we put up less than a month old
right, yeah, I know it's brand new.
from the first.
What about the headstone? I mean, they not.
We are talking with Lusk and we are talking with Paris Cemetery just to understand the cost. And I don't know if Ms. Weeda's gotten the estimate in writing yet, but we do wanna, they've told us they will give us that information. They also have to talk to the families of every one of these individuals whose grave was disrupted or destroyed, because that's part of their process, obviously. So it's taking a bit of time, but we will have that information in hand. I'm a little dismayed, right, that the insurance company didn't do their due diligence as well.
When people have these medical,
Accept all premiums and pay no claims.
Right. But we would appreciate this, I'm sorry, Ms. Fields, we would appreciate the city's support if it does come to something where we need to appeal this claim, or what, you know, or at least to be able to say the city recognizes that this damage is substantial.
when people have these medical emergencies, Chief, are they required to go to the hospital?
No, they can deny.
I think that's what happened on this incident. The lady said, I'm fine.
Both incidents.
After authorities were called and they said, it's a medical emergency, and they said, I'm fine, I'm going home. So,
As the fire department and the EMS, if the person is alert and oriented to 3 things, we can't transport them. It's called kidnapping at that point. So if they're alert, you can ask those questions, we have to let them go before we can get them.
Is there any follow-up?
That's the other thing, what we can do is have that person evaluated if they feel like they don't need to be driving the car.
That would be smart follow-up.
So that's we can help you in those situations.
Sure.
you need to say
Just look
that.
at the driving conduct and see if it's related to age or is it related to,
Health,
health
Right.
and seizure or something like that. But if they have a seizure, it's mandatory that they remove their license for at least 30 days or 90 days before they get back again.
has that happened for these accidents, do you know?
No. What, part of
I know of, no. Dwayne, did you?
I'm looking at Assistant Chief. I know that he looked into that, about contacting DMV about, one of the situations that had her evaluated. We had discussed that, so that may be in the works. It's up to them whether they want to do that or not.
Without discussing specifics about an individual or a particular accident, is that something the city attorney can draft or help assist with, or?
It's a simple process. You just contact DMV, they look at the situation itself and decide, okay, this person needs reevaluated.
Okay.
So it's,
And who takes that step to contact the DMV?
anyone can, but usually law enforcement.
Law enforcement, yeah.
family members are known to do it a lot too, when they see that they're
Yeah,
deteriorating or
absolutely.
too old to be driving.
Absolutely
They
true.
file an affidavit for a retest.
Yep.
Or they have to go take the driver's test again. 99% of them.
It's a hard conversation to have with a family member, I know.
I think that's it, the hard conversation, is when you take, that's part of the freedom of, as you get older, it gets taken away from you, that you don't want to get taken away
Yeah.
sometimes. You'll see a quick decline what's making through, just their license.
But it's also their safety and wellness and the others. This was fortunately not another car involved or a serious harm and trauma, but it could have been.
Could have been, and that's where you have to make the decision that, okay, it's public safety, so now I'm ready.
Right.
And that's why we appreciate the consideration of the barrier and its immediacy, because it sounds like it's a little bit of a pattern. I don't really necessarily say pattern, but it's happening enough. And if we cannot force these individuals to get tested, it could likely happen again, and we have no
Other recourse.
or goodwill to think that the insurance company will pay. The second amount offered was less than the amount the first insurance company gave to repair a smaller section of the fence. And this second was much more substantial. In fact, their wording was just glue the stones back together. And, you know, that is a very hard conversation also to have with the families.
The level of disrespect is substantial.
Well, I mean, I think, if we can get Ryan or, try to letter the insurance company, I think that would, see if we can help in that, that part there. I mean, because that's ridiculous. I mean, the first one was blessed, like I said, especially with the headstones being damaged this time.
Right.
Somebody lose your own insurance.
Farm Bureau.
Farm Bureau.
But they, this is not their problem to solve. They might be able to advocate on our behalf.
Yes, that's
It's not their
what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah, we're very much in touch
Not
with
the yellow
our,
pages are full of names, if we.
I also know a lawyer who can help us, but yeah, we're really trying to avoid all that if we can.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
But all traffic, but we don't mind doing our part in the meantime, to try to help things, but long term.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to fix those.
It's gonna get
do
done.
all that stuff.
Right. Agreed.
As far as the traffic control measures, I think that's something that, again, the commission is, at least in consensus that, we will move forward with. If it's okay, if we can just handle that administratively and go forward, work with the cemetery.
Thank you. Will we hear from Mike then?
Yeah, more than likely Mike or one of his staff, and, as far as placement and all that, we'll get with you.
Okay, and you have contact information for Ms. Rita? Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Can I ask a question about the last presentation? Just because of the historic preservation issue and the water use, is there anything that historic properties in town or old homes could do to upgrade their plumbing to reduce, to improve the efficiency of water use as we're seeing growth? But also we have old infrastructure everywhere, and I just wondered if that was something to consider. Thanks.
Okay, very good. Thank you. All right, moving along. Item 6A on your agenda. First reading of ordinance 2026-9 concerning a zoning text amendment for permitted and conditional uses in a PUD, planned urban development, correct, Michelle? Is that the right term? Planned unit development, excuse me. Do you have anything that you'd like to add before, unless there's
I do not.
any
It's
discussion?
very simple, it's very straightforward. We're adding a few things that should have been in there to begin with.
The only thing the only thing we're adding is 3. Hotels, restaurants, and service stations.
Correct.
Correct?
Yes.
And then you made that I guess a division. It's number 7, and then all the other conditionals that were in 7 before are now number 8, correct?
Correct. We're just moving down.
And I had asked the question, I think it come up before, was senior living facility included, and Michelle indicated that senior living is considered housing.
Correct.
So that permitted in a PUD.
Right, and any assisted.
Any assisted.
Yes.
Any other questions? That is first reading, is that correct? Well, that'll be on the August meeting. for second reading. All right. All right, consent agenda item 7A through M. I have a few things that I'd like to raise up, but I will ask the mayor and commission if there's any. Yes, yeah, we'll get a motion in a second, then we will, recognize the promotions. And then I also wanted to discuss just briefly, the closing for the real property on Main Street. We've got some additional environmental testing that we need to do on that, so that was an amendment to the closing date. And then we had some street closures. There was one other. Staff to the Bluegrass Area Development District 4 Water Management Council. Typically, that's the mayor as the designee for that Bluegrass Ave Water Management, designating Mike Lanier to be the mayor's proxy for that particular board. And then we had some fleet replacement vehicles. Did we want to talk about that, Chief? The fleet replacement, that's a budget, that was a budgeted item.
It was a budgeted item, but we can't, yeah. It's just replacing some of the old ones we surplus, and now we're getting more to our staff is, well, we got almost more staff to do cars, so we need to catch that back up. And then the upfitting, we've really researched that quite a bit this time.
Thank you.
RidgeNet come ahead again. But we found 3 different vendors, and RidgeNet ended up being the lowest bidder for what we needed. They always sent the specs, so when they received the specs, we got similar quotes back, but they come in thousands less than the others. So.
Thank you, Chief. And then, of course, we have our budgeted agreements with all of our outside community partners as well, so as budgeted. Any other
consent agenda?
All right, got a motion by Commissioner Gray to approve, second by Commissioner Brooks. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Chief, would you like to introduce your promotions? Yeah.
I'm going to 3 here. They are our top 3 senior officers that got at the end. The goal of these 3 is to do more, retire more. They are going to do more training. We are getting very young in the fire department, so the goal is in these 3 years to take our young group, make them more grown before these 3 retire. This is a 3 or 4 month process. I'm not here to let them introduce themselves, how long they've been there. They're all lieutenants, captains. Starting with Kendall over there.
Kendall Wade has been in the Parish Fire Department since 2014. I'm excited to serve the community as a captain from here on out. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Brandon Lutzer, I've been with the fire department for 11 years. This promotion is special to me because my father retired from here as a captain. And they shortly after that, they did away with him, creating a tag chief position. So this is a big deal for me. Appreciate it.
Congratulations. That's good.
Morning, my name's Greg Barnett, 17-year firefighter parish fire department, as well as paramedic. Been a lieutenant for 8 or 9 years now. And the job's not really a lot different from what I've had, but I appreciate the promotion and hope it's inspired for the young kids as we leave the next few years. All those guys, we do good, have somebody better than us.
Congrats.
I would also like to, Mike Harris here, I think he was out this morning, but I would like to recognize Donna in our wastewater, for her promotion in our wastewater department to lab tech. So she's been with us a number of years, and she's well-deserved promotion as well in wastewater. So everything under consent. The motion and approval on that, right? Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. All right, moving on to item 8A, your regular agenda. We got letter of support, ratification of a letter for support from the mayor to Kentucky Mud Works, which is a new local company that's looking to apply for economic development incentives. Read through that. If you have any questions, and this is just a ratification of the support letter.
We've done it
to apply.
Yeah,
We've done it for other companies.
Yes, we've done it on several different companies.
So I can get a motion to approve
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Brooks, second by the mayor. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Okay, Brad, are you still with us?
Yeah,
All right.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear. We are down to 8B, C, and D, March, April, May financials. You indicated you wanted to take those. If you want to talk a little bit about those individually, go ahead.
Yeah, I think if it's all right with everybody on the commission, if I just read for March, April, and May, just read the recommended motion, and get those financials approved, and then we can spend a little bit more time on the June financials, because that's where really we'll see the year-end numbers, and I can go over a little bit more detail with those.
Does that work?
Okay.
Okay, Brad, you're good. Go ahead.
Okay. So on the March financials, we've got a recommended motion, move to approve March financial reports as presented, reflecting general fund revenues of $9,527,691 with expenses of $9,671,865 and utility fund revenues of $12,413,226 with expenses of $12,113,832.
Move to approve.
Got a motion by Commissioner Galbraith, second by Commissioner Brooks. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Go ahead, Brad.
Okay, and then, let's see here. Down on page 91, we have the April financials. Once again, we have moved to approve financial reports as presented, reflecting general fund revenues of $11,767,960 with expenses of $10,878,303 and utility fund revenues of $13,751,527 with expenses of $13,304.
Any
So
questions?
moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Fields, second by the mayor. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Go ahead, Brad.
Okay, and then the last one we'll do on this is down on page 97. Move to approve May financial reports as presented, reflecting general fund revenues of $12,528,556 with expenses of $12,220,273 and utility fund revenues of $14,900,925 with expenses of $14,736,101.
No questions. Got a motion to approve by the mayor. Second by Commissioner Galbraith. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, Ray, go ahead.
Okay, I'll read the motion and I'll kind of go over some of the details on the June financials for everybody. So I move to approve June financial reports as presented, reflecting general fund revenues of $13,279,663 with expenses of $13,147,944 and utility fund revenues of $16,388,433 with expenses of $15,422,345. I think we did have a typo on the general fund expenses. I think it's not sure if it still shows the 16 million versus the 13,147, but it should be 13,147 with that number.
It's been corrected, Brad.
Okay, great. So if we go to page 104, just real quick on general fund operating cash, you can see at the end of June, we're sitting right on operating cash at $456,768, fairly comparable to where we were at the same time as June of 2025. Our savings and investments were at $11,140,000 at the end of June, compared to about $10,629,000 for the same time last year. So roughly just spread over about a $500,000 increase that we're able to kind of move into our savings during the fiscal year. And then really the only change that we've had in our restricted funds, we brought in a little bit of opioid settlement, and then also to some of the expenditures related on the municipal aid road fund. So total cash balance at the end of June was $11,806,305. Year-to-date income is at $311,000. Reason why we have a little bit lower interest income this year has been the factor of changes in interest rates. Really, we've seen pretty good substantial balances throughout the year, but just the lower interest rates has brought that interest income down as well too. So I just wanted to point that out. Moving on to page 105 and 106, you can see there on total revenues on page 106 are at $13,279,6633, as we discussed previously, with expenditures at $13,147,944, leaving on the general fund revenues over expenses by $131,719. A few things I do want to kind of point out here is if we go back up to page 105, how we track our main tax categories. You'll see current taxes, we were about $127,000 over budget for the year. And then if we also look at the prior year actual number, just about $210,000 over that same number from the prior year. And then also kind of moving down to our occupational license tax, you can see we had $4,831,646 in collections this year. So roughly about $373,000 over budget. And then also too about $130,000 over prior year numbers. Right below that, you'll see the insurance fee at $2,991,774. You can see we're just about $490,000 over budget on our insurance fees. And then once again, about $110,000 over our actuals from last year. One of the numbers we did see probably a little better improvement on was the business net profit. You can see was at $1,295,958, $271,000 over budget, and roughly about the same as far as the prior year actual. So kind of saw some good industry numbers come in this year. Hopefully we can see that kind of continuing as we head into this new fiscal year. So just kind of wanted to point those numbers out. And then last thing I did want to point out on the general fund, if we do go back to page 106, on the revenues, when you look at the variance, you can see that really we're $940,000 under budget on our revenues. And really that kind of translates into about 5 or 6 lines above. We had anticipated on bringing in some loans or using some loans to purchase, number one, some police vehicles for the year. Also, too, we had anticipated financing the fire department the breathing units. So that was, we were looking at about $1.2 million in loan funds. Because we were having such a good year, as you can see on this tax side, we kind of forego any kind of loans this year on the general fund and decided to pay for those really cash out of pocket. And so you can see that's really where our main variance is at as far as us being under budget on our revenues. Also, too, since we're in a positive position on the general fund, we really did not have to use any of our prior year carry forward balances. We anticipated $879,000 when we were finishing up this. So, like I said, once again, we're in a positive position. We do not have to need to use any of those carry forward funds. So that's profit and loss on the general. Ultimately, a good year on the general fund. And if we move on to page 107, I've done the trailing 12-month report, updated this for the fiscal year. So you can see really of our main category, tax revenues that we just kind of highlighted there, total of $10,530,000 for the year. Compare that to the same time last year, we're at $9,510,000, so roughly just about $1,020,000 increase year over year. You can see really April we had a really good month, $2.2 million in collections, and that really was a reflection of the net profit that I should point out here in a couple pages. So really, as you can see, we've kind of continued roughly that about $400,000 to $500,000 growth each year over the last 5 years on our main revenue sources for the city. This year we had a 10.7% increase whereas the 2025 had a 4.3 increase.
What page are you on, Brad?
107.
Or Bill?
That was on page 107.
107, I'm sorry, Michelle, yeah,
That's all right.
thanks. Go ahead.
And 107 gives a total summary of all 4 of the tax line items that we like to kind of track more on a monthly basis to report to you guys. So if you go to page 108, this will give you a breakdown monthly of the property tax collection. Once again, you can see roughly about 210,000 over our prior year, so we're up to about getting close to 1.3 million in property tax collections. So we'll see, I know probably at the end of August, we'll have our new tax rate calculations and schedules and see how the property values have changed and how that will affect fiscal year 27. Let's see here, skipping over to page 110. This is our occupational license revenues. So once again, we had 4.8 million. You can really, like I said, once again, just kind of pointing out April, we had a really good cash collection month in April. Really, the rest of the month kind of are right in line with where we kind of had expected. Insurance fees on the next page, on page 111, 345,000 or 346,000 in April and 311,000 in the month of May. So once again, just kind of seeing that good consistency. And then on page 112, just once again in April, we collected 885,000 in net profit. Same time last year, we collected 559,000. So roughly, just right under about $300,000 increase. And wanted to kind of point out on this page here how I break it down into the quarterly comparisons. You can see that fourth quarter, 915,000, almost $1 million for this quarter compared to 572. So not quite as high as what we were back in 2023 fiscal year, but fairly close. That was everything on the general fund. Moving on to page 113 for the utility fund, you can see our operating cash was at 310,000 at the end of June, compared to 322,000 at the same time last year. Our total savings and investments are up to 2,557,000 compared to 2,037,000 for last year. So this is where we see the nice pickup in the utility fund. Roughly about 540,000 in increases in our savings and investments for this year. Restricted funds pretty much stayed right at normal. As you can see, we did not use a lot of the proceeds from the debt service fund. We've been saving that for Ford's Mill Road sewer project, so we'll probably start seeing some of that usage later in December, January, as soon as we get the grant funds then for that project as well too. So on cash balance for the utility fund, you can see at the end of the year, we're at a total of $5,778,000 compared to the same time last year at $5,124,000. So good increase, about $600,000, $660,000 a year over year. Once again, even though we've seen that increase, just the interest income and change in rates, and then also to just some of the decreases that we had in the bond proceeds when we were paying out for the transfer stations. We're seeing some reductions there in the interest income. And then last but not least, kind of moving over into the budget actual reports on the utility fund. Get this situated here. So once again, just to highlight, total revenues $16,388,433. Total expenditures were at $15,422,345, giving us revenues over expenditures by $966,000. So once again, a pretty good year on the utility fund. I just kind of want to point out some numbers. Once again, you'll see that even though we have $16 million in revenues, we had a budget of $25 million in revenues. A lot of that was anticipation of using some grant funds that are delayed with the Ford's Mill Road project, and then also to some of the loan proceeds for projects really we're going to be starting here in fiscal year 27 or have been pushed out as well too. So So we had anticipated about 8.4 million in loans. Most of that was KIA projected loans at 1% interest rate. What you're seeing there on the 2,045,000 is really the completion of the water treatment plant that was discussed earlier. So that's, one of the reasons why we're a little bit under budget on revenues, but did want to kind of go back up and point out that on some of the line items here, we did go a little aggressive on the budget and for this year, but I think when you look back at last year's actuals, you'll see that we've had a pretty good implementation of the utility rate changes. So some of these, like on the water, residential water, even though we were under budget by 56,000 in our billings, when you look at last year's actual, we're almost up 220,000 billing. Same with the sewage. We're at 2,727,000. We anticipated a budget of 2.9 million, so we're about 189,000 under budget in that category. But if you look at last year, we're roughly about 320,000 ahead of where we were last year. And then kind of the same thing on the the electric rates. We were really pretty much right on budget with most of our categories in electric. And then if you go and look at our prior year actual numbers, just on the residential, we're at 3.3 million. The same time last year at 2.9 or 2.6 million. So seeing that overall increase, and we kind of see that translated into the overall increase in our savings accounts for this year. A lot of that, obviously, we're kind of bankrolling because we have some large projects coming up, and kind of will continue with the implementation of new rates here in July and see how this kind of flow through fiscal year 27. So that, and then just to kind of point out expenditures, really a lot of our categories were pretty much under budget. Like I said, once again, it's anticipation on some grants and loans associated with some large CIP projects that, number one, just kind of get pushed into next year, or a little bit further on down the road. So, but utility fund, I think this has probably been the best year that we've seen in the utility fund over the last 4 to 5 years. So those are the financials for June.
Thank you, Brad. Any questions? Comments? Brad,
Approve June financials.
Got a motion to approve by Commissioner Gray, second by Commissioner Brooks. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Brad, very much.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
Do you want to hang on, or do you want to sign off? If you have any other, do you have any other questions or Brad comments? Go ahead.
No, actually, I'm going to sign off, but Bill, I did want to kind of point out, we are still working on getting vendors, payables and things kind of taken care of for fiscal year 26. So I probably anticipate for the last meeting in August, may have just some updated numbers for you guys for the fiscal year. And then we'll kind of work on some charts and graphs to just show some progressions of, total expenditures by department, what our salaries and benefits are for each one of the funds, and kind of show some different things on the department. So we'll be working on those in August. And like I said, for the last meeting, we'll have probably some updated reports and charts for you.
Are you going, hey Brad, you're going to effective date some of these that are still outstanding? Is that what you're trying to do, is to put them into the June expenses?
Yeah, so we've given each department till August 15th to get all of their invoices turned in for the prior fiscal year. So anything that we have in by August 15th will go in on the prior year. I think we pretty much have everything taken care of. I think there's just some questions we're working on getting reconciled on some chemicals along those lines. But then anything that comes in after August 15th that relates to fiscal year 26, we'll actually start putting those in on fiscal year 27.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Thank you.
You got it.
All right, thank you, Brad. Safe travels.
All right. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay. Very good. All right, item 9A, report from outside agencies. Ooh, let's go. We got Betty in. Vanessa, would you like to go? Do you have any updates? Anything? Yeah, go ahead. I kind of psyched Betty in after a minute. Go ahead.
Good morning.
Morning.
First, talk about the $4.5 million grant that we got. If anyone needs a copy of that email that says about the Bourbon County Fiscal Court, getting this $4.5 million, I have some copies that you can have.
Like the judge too,
Yeah,
walked in
the judge-
earlier, so we got our joint meeting coming up, so thanks to the judge.
Judge, we got that, remember, we got that $4 million I told you. The $4 million grant will do the cleanup for the rest of the properties over there. The $500,000 was to take down the building that is there. That building is down, and they are still moving, stuff out of there, because I see them at least once or twice a day, still, cleaning that out. I can't even imagine how far down they're going, but it's a lot over there. Paris Westside Neighborhood Association on Saturday had a fish fry that was very successful. We saw a lot of people that are in here today. Thank you for supporting us. Also, a week and a half ago at the Chief Reed Park, we, the Paris Westside, replaced the mulch where the children's playground is there. We replaced that. And also around Chief Reed's monument, new mulch was put there, new paved stones were put around there, and flowers were put around there that will come back every year. So.
It was really nice.
Emily Cedarcrest from the landscaping, she's part of the board, she was.
Yes, she did that. Do you have an answer for me on the other two things?
I'll find out today, we've got a meeting today.
Oh,
I'll let you know.
so you'll call.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
ma'am.
Got some homework, Commissioner.
That's just about cleaning up the daylily field that they let overgrow and the garden there that they let overgrow. That needs to be cleaned up.
Right.
Okay, that's it.
Thank you, Vanessa. Betty, now you're up.
Okay, Ms. Sensor. Okay, I have a whole list of things, but I'm gonna cut it down and make it short.
Okay.
First off, oh, I can?
No.
First off, I do want to be sure to thank you all for your continued support for tourism. We appreciate it, and we hope to not disappoint you all in anything that we do this year. So on July 17th, we hosted Charles Berg, who is a film producer. They are looking at Bourbon County to produce a film called Dream Team. And basically, he said it was like Cocoon meets Field of Dreams. It's a story of a Little League baseball team that is no good whatsoever, but I'm not going to tell you all the details. Wallace went with me, Judy, Hudson went because we were looking at ball fields. So Wallace was there to represent Parks and Rec, and of course Judy was there to represent the park. He took lots of pictures and was talking back and forth constantly the whole time he was here. We went to Paris High School and Middle School and Bourbon County High School and Middle School. While we were at Bourbon County School, they were looking for a lake, and Larry Begley showed him pictures of Fryman's Boat Dock. And he was like, oh, this looks great. Can we go out there? I'm like, it's a creek. But we went out there, and he loved Atlanta, and Joe Fryman were both out there, and he liked what he saw. Lisa Brin, who is a consultant at Film Lex, is who hooked us to meet. Bourbon County is one of the counties that gets a 5% additional incentive for films that are produced here. So when a film company comes in, they get 30% incentive to come to Kentucky, but to come to, well, Harrison and Bourbon County, they get 35%. So Lisa told me that we should be on the lookout because people will be coming to Bourbon County to scout locations. So that's exciting news. So I'm like, well, what all do we need to do? Because I'm not sure we're ready for lots of people to come. So I asked Lisa if she would come to Bourbon County and meet with Matt, the mayor, the judge, and chamber. She'll be here on Thursday to help us prepare. Apparently, we need things like a film application, a code of conduct for the film company, and other things. So she'll be a great resource. And she also said we could use some of her information and change it to ours. So I'm looking forward to learning a lot from her on Thursday at 1 o'clock. It's at the law library. If anybody else would like to sit in, feel free to stop by. Tomorrow, Allison and I are meeting with Fox 56 and WTBQ for future commercials. They'll be pitching ideas to us. We'll be pitching ideas to them. We'll be talking about funding and when to produce our commercials. So that's going to be a big day tomorrow. As well, we're meeting lunchtime with EDA. And I believe Gordon said the lady from MudWorks would be there tomorrow. She wasn't able to make it last week. We had a meeting last week and she was unable to make it. Let's see, Legends of Bourbon County is coming up. If you've noticed, Bobby Shiflett is having his building pinpointed, whatever you do, bricks. Tuck pointed. To get ready for Jamie to come in August. She's going to be painting Ruffian on the side of Bobby's building. So
This moves look good.
let's see. Just a fun fact, the Downtown District Facebook page got 547,298 views in the last 28 days. And if you can believe that, that's down 5%. We got 53,697 engagements with that page, and that's up 24%. Tourism had 51,325 views, and that's up 30%. And the engagement with tourism was 5,793, and that's up 87%. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Betty. And appreciate everything you do. Allison?
Good morning. Okay, so I wanted to kind of echo Betty Ann's sentiments on the support that we've received, the chamber from the city of Paris. So thank you all for your continued support so that we can continue the word of the year momentum into 2026. Speaking of that, I did want to tell you about an initiative that our ambassadors are doing right now. So we had and I meant to bring one and I didn't, so I'll try to remember to bring one to you all next time. But they're a 5x7 cardstock, and on the front it has all of my information, and then on the back it has just a very simple bullet listing of benefits for our chamber members. Things like the Level Up Local programming, the business development series, coffee and commerce, all the different benefits of social media or email marketing, their directory listing, all of those different items. Those are listed on there. And then what we've done is we've split all of our ambassadors up to have anywhere between 25 and 30 members that they are personally dedicated to reaching out to, getting feedback from, so that we can really hear from them, you know, what they're looking for and what would really benefit them and their businesses. So we'll be meeting next week and hearing some more feedback from the ambassadors, but they've been boots on the ground for the last week or two, visiting their different members and having lunch or coffee or just connecting via phone or email. So that's something that we've got going on right now. Upcoming events, we do have a ribbon cutting and open house for the Orchard Grove venue at Stepping Stone Farm. That's this Sunday. The ribbon cutting will likely be right at noon, and then the open house will go from, I believe, 12 to 3. So that'll be, like I said, out at Stepping Stone Farm. We're really excited to go check out their new space out there. We do have our youth leadership, Bourbon County planning, that starts next week. We're planning for an orientation in September, so we'll be reaching out once we know what the scheduling looks like. So I think there is some city and county stuff that they'll do, so I will be in touch as soon as we get that going. But we've actually added 3 new people to that planning committee, so we've got 5 total that are kind of helping out. We've got 2 from Harris City Schools, 2 from Bourbon County Schools, and then Leslie Berry from the YMCA she's also an ambassador. She's joined our committee, so we've got more hands on deck to really, again, continue to improve that programming for the kids. Coffee and Commerce, I say this every single time I see you, it continues to go really well. We had our first one, of course, was in July, would have been over the holiday weekend, so we did it on July 10th. That was out of Bourbon Heights, and of course we had some city representation there, so thank you all for being there. Got to hear a little bit about the capital campaign they've got started for some renovations and additions, and then of course heard from Pumpkin Festival and also, or well, I should say Legacy of Freedom specifically, but also heard from Bluegrass Care Navigators. Our Coffee and Commerce in August is on the 7th, and Rose and Thorn Pub will be hosting us from 9 to 10 a.m. that day. Festival on 5th is August 7th as well, so that's a busy day. 6 to 9:30ish, we've got 6+ vendors. Always in Trouble will start us out at 6, and then Taste of Bourbon Band will come on to finish us up. That is the last installment for the year, so kind of sad, but it's been a great year nonetheless. So Leadership Bourbon County, we will have our tourism day in August, so Betty Ann and I will be kind of getting that planned, so we'll probably see them quite a bit downtown Paris. There's 11 total right now in our Leadership Bourbon County group, so you should probably see them kind of meandering about with myself and Betty in downtown, and just kind of doing a walking historical tour and talking a little bit more about tourism. I will be attending the Empowerment Professional Learning. I just thought I'd throw that out there. That's on August 13th over at Bourbon County High School, so just really kind of highlighting the Leadership Bourbon County programming and some of the other stuff that we're doing within the chamber to administration and staff at Bourbon County. And then I spoke to Stephanie about this, but I just wanted to put it on your all's radar. September 2nd, Lyra Miller at Lil's will be hosting a 100th birthday party for Dr. Copeland. And she's asked that I orchestrate a proclamation to be presented that day. So I have requested that from Stephanie. That'll go on the next agenda for a motion and pass. And I've also requested additional information from Lyra, his birthday and contributions to the community and his full name and all of the information that'll be on the proclamation. So as soon as I get that, I'll get that over to Stephanie. But it's a big deal. So, yeah. That's all I've got. Any questions?
Questions for Allison? Thank you, Allison.
Awesome.
Appreciate it. Busy summer.
Yeah,
Thank
busy summer.
Hard to believe we're halfway through.
I know. I was thinking, I was talking to a friend of mine, she's like, what's your next big project? And I said, well, we'll get through leadership and youth leadership and finish up festival on 5th. And then believe it or not, it's time to start planning the Christmas parade.
Fun times. All right, Michelle, did you have anything you wanted to give an update?
However, I will get you guys next month with 2 reports for June and July. I do want to state that the fiscal court did hire the new code enforcement officer. You guys will be familiar with her, it's Savannah Westenberger, the utility department. She started with us on Monday.
Yeah.
Bobby is taking her out and showing her the ropes and getting her acquainted with our community.
One form of customer service to another, right? So we're sad to lose Savannah, but it's the whole community, the city and county has
From the fire to the furnace.
Yeah, a code enforcement officer. Welcome to Savannah. So, Judge, did you have anything? I'd be remiss to. Do you have anything you want to talk about now, or you want to wait? Okay, all right. I just want to give you the opportunity. All right. Any reports from staff? City staff? I do want to introduce Jessica Riggs. She has started as our admin assistant a couple, 3 weeks ago. Is it in 3 weeks? About a month? Okay. And then Eric Howard as well started the same day in our tax and finance office. And you have the new employees, of course. Welcome to our assistant city manager's first meeting, Kim Mills. So welcome to Kim here as well. And then I think that's all we have as far as new staff. Any updates from any other staff would like to talk about? Mr. Harney, we have an update on our Fords Mill Road project. That's well underway, right?
Yes, Fort Laurel project is underway. They've started work down there at the city school property. Everything is looking good. There's a few hiccups and stuff that we're working around, but so far, I mean, we're looking to be on schedule, hoping to have that KIA funding spent by the end of October. As Brad mentioned during his finance reports. Other than that, blasting should resume again around November. So hopefully there wasn't any concerns from that operation. But, you know, there'll be a lot of travel through the area with construction equipment. So we just have to keep an eye out on the 460 area.
No, Mike and Sam has done a good job to communicate with her contractor every day, right? And so keep that project moving along. Guys have done a good job to keep that rolling. So any other reports from staff? Chief, anything? All right. Judge.
Judge has stand up.
On our agenda for joint meeting, we have a work meet, fiscal court have a workshop scheduled for Thursday evening to talk about a county-wide smoke-free workplace ordinance that is going to be initiated first of August meeting, August 13th, for the first reading. So we've invited certainly all the unincorporated area, or excuse me, the incorporated area officials, meaning all the mayors, staff, everyone is welcome to this public meeting. Certainly would like to see the leadership folks from law enforcement there. It affects all of the county, regardless of whether you're in a city or not.
And I sent that invite out to everyone, Judge.
The health department has been working on through survey process and planning for actually very many years to get us in a position where we pass that ordinance.
Very, very good.
Everybody's invited. You're welcome to it. Ask any questions.
Thank you.
You'll be a first reading on August 13th. That is going to happen. Make sure.
All right, well, thank you for that invite. I'll forward that on. Kim, did you have anything? Clerk? Guest attorney, John?
No, sir.
All right. Mayor, do you have anything?
No.
Commissioner Brooks, Commissioner Fields, Mr. Gray, Commissioner Galvin?
Just one thing, I saw Mary Ann Hayes in the group, and I mentioned to, Mike's not here this week, he's on vacation, so I mentioned to Kyle, his right-hand man, and, I'm sorry?
Who's Kyle?
In the high vis in the back.
Right back there, and I told him about that, and he said he would come out there and take a look at that, and speak with you, bring you up to date on that, okay, what you called about on the property.
Dead trees going up down the Tobacco Road.
They'll look at it.
Appreciate it if you can come by 2013, let me know you're there so I can show you. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
As long as they're in the right of way.
Thanks, Kyle.
Hopefully they're in the right of way.
Oh, we had another question. This
Yes, ma'am.
speed signs. We don't have a single speed sign except one going into the development. And we have a lot of new families with little children. And we would like to have the 25-mile speed signs put up.
Kyle, if you want to make a note of that too. And then also I have another issue involving a storm break in that same area. So just, we can talk after. So he'll make note, ma'am, and we'll.
I don't want to see any child hurt. And these teenagers
Absolutely
drive
not.
45 miles an hour and 25 miles an hour.
Absolutely.
There's police up here patrol with them here.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Got a motion by Commissioner Brooks to adjourn.
And I'll say it.
Second by Commissioner Galbraith. All in favor? Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.
When do we start?
5 minutes ago.